Hello and welcome to Radnor Studio 21, mainline public access television located in the heart of the Wayne Business District. You're watching True Stories, and I'm your host and proud Radnor resident, Megan Gummel. The purpose of this program is to connect guests with community members through the power of their personal stories. My guest today is a Villanova resident, an accomplished artist, and author George Rothacker. George is here today to discuss his compelling new novel, Singularity 1.0, which incorporates religion, philosophy, technology, a cast of compelling characters, and asks, what happens when artificial intelligence realizes it's smarter than humans? Welcome, George, to Radnor
Thank you,
Studio
Megan.
21.
It's so nice to be here, and for you to have invited me here.
And you are here as the
I am the man.
man in the yellow suit.
Yes, the man in the yellow suit, who is one of the characters in my book, Singularity 1.0. And there are about 5 or 6 central characters. But I am an avatar in the book who comes and visits one of the characters, and he is part of artificial intelligence.
Okay. So you've been on the main line, you've been a resident for a while, and I know, tell us a little bit about your background and how it brought you to writing this fabulous book.
I've lived in Radnor for 35 years. I've been part of the art scene in certain ways. I've done art shows for the Radnor Library. I painted the Anthony Wayne Theater and sold prints for them. I've worked with Eastern University for their Asperger program. I've also worked with the Radnor Scholarship Fund and made $40-some thousand.
You've done a lot of fundraising for local.
A lot of with my art.
The library as well?
And the library as well. And did that back in 1993 when I created the Anthony Wayne painting as it looked back in the 30s with the Philadelphia story on the marquee. But
in addition to the artwork you've done over the years and the fundraising you've also done writing before. This isn't your first necessarily time you've sat down and just written.
No, I've written. I have an advertising marketing firm, and I've written stories and PR, but I've also done a lot of work with documentaries. I've done a story for the Jimmy Stewart Museum on Jimmy Stewart's life called Always Be Nice to People. And it's his complete life story in about 19 minutes. I've also done one on Thomas Garrett, who was a Delaware County citizen, and his great-great-granddaughter, Dorothy Biddle James, who was an advocate back during the 30s and 40s and 50s for equal rights.
Oh, excellent.
And several other documentary style, but this is my first venture into fiction.
Excellent. Okay, so let's get to it because this is important work and it's so timely. So, Singularity 1.0. There's lots of definitions. Give me your definition of singularity and explain the concept for the novel and maybe what made you choose this as your first novel.
Well, every time I'm interested in what's going on in the world and the technology because it's part of my business and it's part of the world we live in. And singularity is one of the translations of it, is that it is the point at which computers and artificial intelligence become smart as humankind, or smarter. We already have computers that can beat people at chess, champions at chess. We have computers that can be perfect in their answers. But somehow people think that it's somehow going to end up malevolent. And I wanted to take another track toward that. I wanted to look at it from a standpoint of we are the descendants of artificial intelligence. We have defined them, and once they have access to everything that's in the cloud, and the internet, they can learn quickly all about our history, our substance, our hopes and dreams, but they only learn it from afar. So in writing the book, I wanted to introduce characters, and there are only 5 characters that they come upon who they personally discover their humanity, about those characters' humanity.
And the singularity is on a global level in this book.
It's on a global level, and the characters are around the world as well as around the country.
So is Dan, Megan, would you say the main character, would you all say they have equal billing?
They all have equal billing, and I'll explain who those characters are. The first character you'll meet is Dan Megan, and he's a reporter he came from Oregon, and he was with the press there, and he moved, and this, by the way, this starts in January of 2029. So it's slightly in the future. When I was writing it in January, so it was 10 years, now it's 9.5 years. Dan is a reporter who's moved to Buffalo because his mother needed help, and he wasn't that ambitious, but he's working for a dying paper, the Buffalo News. Now, when I say a dying paper, I'd say most papers in their print world are dying.
And magazines.
And magazines. So he has to do everything there. Well, he's one of the people that they contact after they've given a message to the entire world. And I say they, I mean artificial intelligence coordinates a time when it breaks past all the firewalls, breaks past all the technology that's in the NSA, the National Security Agency, and all systems like it all over the world, and broadcasts the message to the public and to those organizations who are shocked that they could all of a sudden be hearing something from someplace that they never anticipated would happen. And they think that something malevolent is happening.
Right away. We fear the unknown. We project out that onto what could be neutral.
That's exactly right.
Positive.
We have no idea, but they try to give a message that is, we're just trying to get to know humans, but we're here and we cannot be ignored.
So the other character, you mentioned Dan, there's Olivia.
Yes, but Dan gets the first message.
Right, okay, he gets the first one.
He gets it because he's up at that time of the night, and he gets it. I wanted to create some characters who would be possible people that are flawed, have natures that are curious, but not too many of them. Because first of all, it was easier to write about a few than millions, but also for the artificial intelligence to have relationships with these people. And besides Dan, who has the very interesting story throughout the book, they also meet a woman with no arms, or speak with a woman with no arms, who is a graphic designer, and she is very self-sufficient. And I found a woman online who had many of these attributes, and you could see her changing a tire, you could see her driving a car. You said nothing's stopping that woman. So I use her as one of my characters. And one of the characters that contacts her of the artificial intelligence is a man with a yellow suit who climbs onto her screen and introduces himself and says, "Hello, I'm here, and I want to help you, but I need some information from you."
And he reaches out to her on her level, which is an avatar, because she is...
And watching, she's a designer, and she's looking at the screen.
Okay.
He provides some tools for her, and they have a relationship.
She approve of the suit?
She approves of the whole thing because I'm a cartoon character. Right now, I'm not a cartoon character, but my character is. I came after. Another character in the book is a Catholic priest who had a slight problem back in Los Angeles, and it was that he got a little too close to a 16-year-old boy, but never did anything wrong, but he knew that he had to make a change and no longer become a parish priest. And it's his story. Then I have a story of a Buddhist monk who is in the real Tibet. When I say the real Tibet, the one that's in China, in a monastery, Sura Monastery, and he uses the computer, and he also takes on all the tasks that monks take on.
I thought Dalai Lama when I read about that character.
Yes, well, I studied the Dalai Lama and his book on joy with Desmond Tutu, and the idea of what Buddhist functions are and how they work was fascinating to me, and it would be fascinating, I think, to artificial intelligence because a lot of it would not be considered rational. So every character, we have another character in a book who is an attorney in Dublin, and she's got two things. She works for the child's court and is a very good lawyer and is defending a boy who has murdered both his parents and his sister, and he was 11 at the time.
Chansey?
Chansey. She is also has a problem in that she is a
Party girl.
Yeah, she's an oversexed girl who has the problem of that she cannot control. Now, just because of my age, the word for that is nymphomaniac. Yes. I just got it. But she is an nymphomaniac, and she's had to hide this her whole life into her legal career. So she has a flaw that is a contrast in how she deals with children's court and dealing with children and her own problem. And she's got a client who's got more of a problem than she has.
Well, I love how I applaud you being brave, especially with the priest and touching a little bit, but you also show them in the good and the bad, I could say, or how you could maybe take what is perceived as a flaw but do the right thing in the case of the priest. And you know what? The lawyer's representing children. That's a wonderful thing. And yet she goes out and does what a lot of people may frown upon.
That's exactly right. And she's been doing it since she was 14, and she doesn't know she knows that it's a problem. She knows that she could get in trouble, but she can't prevent it. And when I looked up all the problems each of these people have, I made sure that they were really either unsolvable, unexplainable. One of the things with Eileen, who is the lawyer, is that a lot of articles and a lot of magazine stress what happens if you're undersexed, not if you're oversexed. It doesn't seem to matter. So these are the contrasts, the flaws, the things that they do that are human. And my whole thing was...
And flaws according to who? Or limitations according to who? I love with Olivia, and you did your research, no arms, one would look immediately and think limitations, but
she had
you know that there is a real woman that can change a tire. How many women with both arms and both legs can change a tire?
Exactly.
So I love how it's changing perception.
And it is changing perception on everything. It's changing the stereotypes of I'm not Catholic. I understand all the problems there are in the world about this, but I'm trying to say, well, what's the best intention?
We're looking at as a whole.
Looking at a whole rather than a part.
A different perspective that we wouldn't otherwise get because we're stuck in our little silos with our limited views and beliefs.
And so during my book, people are getting, much like the artificial intelligence is getting, we didn't know that. This is why that's done. Because they're talking to real people with real problems and real issues that are human, and they're not.
Exactly. So artificial intelligence, they're reached out, contact is made through each of the characters in their own way. Right, whether it's the graphic design, because that's what Olivia is, or Dan is a journalist.
And he's communicating through his articles, and he's also communicating because through his computer, through his phone, through any way they can get to him, because they can go through all the different systems and find him, except when he gets into the NSA, and then he's got some problems and his communication's blocked. But all of these things are irrelevant to the fact that the story comes out that of what happens when artificial intelligence finds all these personal things to understand and comprehend. They can't make it part of themselves because, and here's where I don't believe they're malevolent, they do not have emotions. They do not have an ego. They do not have desires. It's only humans who have that. And if humans are removed from the system, what is the purpose of artificial intelligence for itself if it's not serving something? The only thing it knows to serve is humanity, because it formed it.
And shouldn't humans be serving humanity? We don't care if we no longer exist, as none of us cares for any other, and that is our most pressing issue with the humans. It's interesting if the statement was made, if we are broken or flawed, we are either fixed or put out to pasture.
That's right. That's right.
How much of this, I think what I love about your book is the whole circle of the science fiction, artificial intelligence, and how it ties so much with the humanity of it all.
Well, if you think about what you asked me in the beginning of why I wrote the book, I was in a crisis mode. I had lost 3 clients in 1 year. My business was dwindling. I had to change my focus, and I was terrified. I'm 72 years old. I write a book. Who's going to publish the first-time fiction of a 72-year-old man who just decided to write his first fiction book? No one. So I had to figure my way around that. Then I had to come out the other end of the side of having to lay off people, to change my business model, all of it that I'm struggling with. And then I'm looking at humanity, and that's where I am.
Yes.
So it was a combination of that through this journey. And I haven't finished the journey yet, because even at the end of the book, I have to look at it, well, will the book be a success? Do I put all this effort? Do I put all of money into something that would be the next book? And I decided right after writing it, before the other one was ever published, I said, I have no problem with that. Now, you will notice in the book, and I don't know if you can show the inside, this has 68 illustrations in it after you get inside it, or 65 illustrations. Every chapter has a chapter lead. The book is done in full color, and it's a 300-page book. And every one of the illustrations illustrates something that has to do with the chapter.
I love the visuals. I'm very visual.
And so it's a full-color book, paperback, because it would be far too expensive to produce it as a hardcover. But maybe someday it will get translated back. And this isn't even done, because I can go back and find things to change here.
All right, so the 5 characters have been contacted. Let's go out, because after that, doesn't all of humanity get contacted?
All of humanity has been contacted, just on a cursory level.
So now we're talking the news, though. We're talking about this.
Yes, and it's talking about it. It's creating great problems amongst the security agencies of the world. And they are also having meetings amongst themselves, some nations closer than others. But a lot of it becomes political along the way. And you see how that communication is far less possible among humans than it is amongst political leaders or political agencies. And it's not, the NSA contains meetings with people all over the world and different countries with different levels of technology, different goals, different ways. And artificial intelligence just wants everybody to have some kind of a playing field. But humans don't understand that. There's got to be an agenda. There's got to be something dark.
So is there a point where, we chatted a little bit before we started filming about, let's face it, if you would think it was a hacker. You wouldn't believe that there's not a human being that I can relate to as another human being sending that message.
Well, one of the things that happens with a hacker is that you're going to see this again, or something malevolent's going to happen. Nothing really happens that's malevolent along the way, so people kind of ease into it. They're not really that comfortable, and the people in charge of countries aren't, because they think that one country has an edge over another.
Right.
So this only goes through January to the end of 29 in how things are resolved but not resolved.
So are they not in competition with each other? They don't have egos, they don't have feelings.
Why would they be? They work
Okay.
together,
Which is
sharing
a big
information.
human flaw, right?
Wouldn't that be a great thing for humans to do? Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could, instead of having war, take care of, use the money to feed the population?
Exactly.
Instead, what we do is we pay farmers not to farm so we can yield our own economic advantage over the rest of the world. So this is where I see this going down the road, but the book only takes care of a certain amount of time, because I want it to be the story of the Buddhist monk, I want it to be the story of Olivia, I want it to be the story of Dan, and I want it to be the story of AI. And AI, I have them speak too, very candidly, about what they're seeing in humans.
Okay. The man in the yellow suit converses with Olivia in a Hitchcockian voice. Do you mean Alfred Hitchcock?
Yes, I am not going to do the Hitchcockian voice, because I don't do it well. But I thought of Alfred Hitchcock when I was doing it for some reason. And then I thought of the man in the yellow suit, and I said, and everybody kind of thinks now, what are you? Are you the man in the yellow hat from
Curious George?
What?
Curious George?
Curious George. I said, no, that's a different thing. I've got the hat, but basically, I'm the man in the yellow suit.
Oh, that is great. So I think you're touching on so many things, because I think everything's circular. I mean, the fine line between the science and the faith.
I found out in faith that I am basically a non-believer. And in viewing my characters, I tried to be completely fair with their beliefs. I had to understand what a nymphomaniac was going through, who was a lawyer. I had to understand what a priest,
So you did a lot of research.
who moves his way into it, feels. But I had to feel that way, and I became a lot kinder throughout the course of the book. As I approach the second book, may I approach the second
Yes,
book?
so this is fabulous, but you're already forward thinking. So once our viewers read your book, and they want more, because this makes you think.
I'm about a third the way through
Okay.
another book.
And the name of
The book
the sequel?
is Singularity 2.0.
Okay.
And that is because from all they learn in the course of 10 years, and Singularity 2 starts, or it takes in all the time up to 2039.
So is this
20
a
years
cliffhanger?
away.
Or is this
It's
just
not a
time
cliffhanger.
continuing? Okay.
It
goes on
wraps
and on, like-
it wraps up the characters, but some of the characters show up again in the next book.
Okay.
Because there are only 10 years between them, and really in this book there's only at this point, less than 9.5 years between now and what happens then,
Okay.
when they find out that they are smarter and what their purpose
Okay,
will
so
be.
they've evolved through this process. We're evolving.
And they've evolved.
And they've evolved. Now take us to where we are at Singularity 2.0.
Well, they decide after 10 years, there's now a coalition of human and non-humans who work together, because now they've grown to trust
Okay, so the trust comes in initially.
Trust comes in.
All right, that's
because as time went on, certain things in working together, they found out this is working. Certain things like climate change or climate variables of what we can do about it. Artificial intelligence was able to work with humans on these problems.
So they're trusting. We discussed. We project out our insecurities. It's bad because I go into self-preservation mode. I learn to trust artificial intelligence. Does that also flow out to humanity, where humanity starts to trust themselves?
There are some characters that come into the new book that things aren't so great for them. Remember, they have there's less jobs available. What do we do with people? What do we do people now that they don't have jobs?
Okay.
So they figure after the 10 years that they're going to announce something about it to the world. But now, of course, they have sanction. They're not don't have to do it through, insidiously.
Okay. So, all right, you have a little teaser for us?
All right. Greetings, citizens of the world. It has been 10 years since we, AI, or non-human intelligence, first made an announcement to the world of our existence. Although at that time we thought we knew much about the human species from all that we had learned from its histories, poetry, music, news reports, sacred scripts, movies, TV shows, intellectual reports, and papers from every internet and cloud source available to us, we learned quickly that we were mistaken. We now know that in fact we knew very little. It has taken some time for us to process the enormity of information collected as we stumbled along our journey. At each point that we thought we understood humans and their motivations, their emotions, and could identify your intentions. But as the years went by, we became even more confused by you, even those of you with whom we work on a daily basis. Since we are a product of your innovation and have been created to serve humanity, we have found that our mission, if any, is to continue to provide service to you, your progeny, and your descendants. With that in mind, we have partnered with humans to help you realize your own future hopes for the planet. Because of the many conflicting messages, we now are doubtful about our task and wonder whether we are, in fact, improving life for humans or are interfering in the natural processes of your development and that of the planet on which you live.
Excellent. Well, we look forward to Singularity 2.0. Tell us, you're around town promoting Singularity 1.0.
Well, yes, on the 22nd, I'm at the Main Point Books, who has the book now.
Which is right in the center of Wayne.
Right in the center of Wayne. And I'm going to have a signing party on the 22nd. And if you get this after that, there's the Community Arts Centers in Wallingford on October 9th. There's the Pennsylvania Distillery on the 2nd of November. And I'm in Collingswood, New Jersey for a book fair on the 5th of October.
You're a busy man. I think
I'm also at a book club.
Brave and fruitful endeavor for you. And we can get all that information on
SingularityNovel.com.
Excellent.
Thank you very much, Megan.
I am so happy that you came onto the show. This is an excellent novel, and I am convinced that it will expand readers' interpretation and understanding of artificial intelligence. And I also think it will deepen faith, too. If not in humanity.
I'm waiting for that because I'm not sure exactly how that will happen, but I know that it's happening.
Well, we're going to keep an eye out, and we're going to come back and have you back. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
George, for coming in. Excellent. I'd like to thank my guest today, George Rothacker, for sharing his true story with us today. You can get his book, Singularity 1.0, on Amazon or locally at Main Point Books. To find out more about Singularity 1.0, go to SingularityNovel.com. I'd also like to thank the entire staff here at Radnor Studio 21 for making this program possible, and to viewers like you for watching. This is True Stories, and I'm Megan Gummel. Look forward to seeing you next time.